This was inevitable. We have a major Miami Heat trade update in regards to a topic that has been brought up in the past but has went silent for a little bit, and now we have another update surrounding this, while also head coach Erik Spoelstra has spoken out on the Heat making a jump this season into that upper echelon of the Eastern Conference. And we're going to discuss all this, the implications behind it, and what the future holds for this upcoming season with the Miami Heat, as we are seeing some changes, while also this team fully looking towards contention, and we are going to break all that down. But guys, before we do that, if you're a part of that 79% that's not subscribed to Heat Digest, make sure to subscribe. We have the latest Miami Heat updates for you every single day that you do not want to miss out on. But let's jump into the video. There is a lot to go over on the Heat right now. There's been a ton of questions surrounding Miami and what the rest of this offseason holds for them. Obviously, the Heat are always implicated in a ton of trade rumors because they're the team that has most notably been able to sway free agents away from their teams. And even when they don't look like they're always in the best opportunity or position to contend, they always are at the forefront of a bunch of trades, as we know the Heat are not a tanking team. They will not tank. They will not blow everything up. It's just not what happens. So we always know the Heat are going to be trying to win at all costs, whenever, wherever, however. It does not matter. That's what's going to try to happen. So players usually have the Heat on their radar when requesting a trade, and that's been the case for a very, very long time now, whether it's Shaq, LeBron, Jimmy Butler. It happens very, very consistently that players do end up wanting to go to Miami or eventually getting to go to Miami once they're either traded or they leave their team in free agency. So now, obviously, when we look at all this trade rumors and all these situations, we have to consider everything for the Heat and how they try to go about winning. And there has been a lot of discussion surrounding multiple players in trades, and specifically Terry Rozier, who has been a trade candidate basically since the second he got to Miami. The Heat acquired Rozier, who was putting up 23 points per game. When they traded for him, it was widely viewed as a good trade, moving Kyle Lowry for Terry Rozier, and it felt like a good move. However, it didn't fully always work out that way, and with Rozier ending up the way things ended up for him, and since getting to the Miami Heat, putting up 12.5 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists in the 95 games he's appeared in, there has been some questions surrounding his future with the team, and now we have a huge update on it. As it was mentioned by Ethan Skolnick, so according to sources from the 5 on the Floor podcast, now the Heat have been actively shopping the expiring final year of Terry Rozier's contract, which is worth $24 to $26 million, depending on incentives, for just about anything. But specifically, they're looking for front court help. As we know, the Miami Heat do not have the deepest front court right now, and they do have a good amount of guards to the point where Rozier just is expendable, especially after the last season that he had. I mean, Rozier, he put up 10 points per game last year, 3.7, or 10 points per game last year, 3.7 rebounds, and 2.6 assists. His defense has fallen off a cliff, and his shooting has been absolutely abysmal. He shot 29% from 3 last year and 39% from the field. His numbers just were not good, and Rozier, on that expiring $26 million contract, it's just time to move on, as we all know. But the problem is trying to move on. I mean, the Heat, they've made it very clear they do want to add another big man, another guy into the front court on this team for Terry Rozier, who just no longer fits on the roster at all. I mean, with a mix of having Tyler Hero, drafting Yakachonis, having Davion Mitchell, who's really starting to get things going, re-signing Drew Smith, bringing in Jameer Young. There's been enough guys, I mean, Norman Powell, who can play the two. There's been enough guys who have shown up to this team that just makes Terry Rozier have no real role here. And what makes the most sense is to move on from Rozier. The problem is, no team wants Terry Rozier or that contract. No team has that cap space to eat for Terry Rozier at this point. So you can't really do a full salary cap dump. And on top of that, no team is going to go out there and want to get Terry Rozier unless they're giving Miami a longer, probably equally as bad contract, which is then a world where the Heat will get some sort of draft capital for picking it up. That's the only real scenario that we see for Terry Rozier at this point with Miami, and it definitely does raise some questions and some eyebrows going forward. Move him. Now, as Skolnick mentioned, perhaps this will change closer to the February trade deadline if a team is desperate enough to use Rozier's expiring money to clear cap space, but at the moment, it appears likely that Rozier will be with the Heat in training camp at FAU in October. A former hope for offensive creation, now reduced to a bystander waiting for his next real place to play. And Skolnick continued by saying, the Heat coaches had no issue with Rozier's work ethic or commitment, but nobody seems to be expecting a turnaround, and now there are more issues. The Heat have a very crowded guard room, which leaves little space for Rozier to rehabilitate his value with playing time. So that's also an issue here that we have to be considerate of. Rozier just does not have the room to really get his his value back up unless multiple injuries happen. So he's in a rough spot right now. Even if he has an excellent training camp, it's going to be hard for him to break into anything seriously because we know what the future for Rozier holds, and it's not in Miami. So the Heat don't really feel too much of a need to play him. So that is where things happen. And I want you guys to let me know in the comments right now what you think of Terry Rozier and what you would try to move him for, because obviously he's going to have to get moved. And I mean, just continuing on with this video, you do have to think about everything that the future really holds for Miami right now, and it's kind of tough to find a spot for Rozier. Look, he's had good playoff moments, don't get me wrong, throughout his career. He's averaged 10 points and 4 rebounds per game in the playoffs. He obviously had that excellent playoff run in the 2017-18 season when he was the starting point guard. After Kyrie Irving went down with that injury right before the playoffs, he put up 16.5 points per game. And the Celtics were a game away from knocking off LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers in that year, but obviously didn't in the end. And when it came down to it, it was just one of those situations where Rozier was then looked at as a top option, ended up getting that deal with Charlotte, moved on there, was a 20-point-per-game scorer, and then found his way to Miami where things have just taken a turn for the worst, and now he's completely out of the rotation. So it's definitely tough to kind of consider everything, and on top of that, we've also seen Malik Beasley get cleared for the whole gambling situation, and he's no longer being investigated, while Terry Rozier does have an open gambling investigation situation against him as well, which makes things a little bit more complicated when it comes to trades because teams don't really want that black eye of trading for a guy who then gets banned for gambling, so it also becomes that. So it's definitely difficult to move on from Terry Rozier right now, and by difficult, I mean it's next to impossible right now. So likely what we're going to see is Terry Rozier just be depth for this team for a year and then try to find a role elsewhere going forwards with the Heat, or maybe he'll get bought out and a team that needs another guard will bring him in. We'll see what happens with that. Definitely going to be something to keep in mind. Let me know what you guys think on that. But also, in regards to the Miami Heat and their future, Erik Spoelstra spoke out on how they plan on being one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference this year. Unlike the last 2 years where things have not gone exactly perfectly for Miami. I mean, as we know, we recently saw them go 37-45 and end up making the playoffs as an 8th seed, where they got slapped around by the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then the year before that, we saw them go 46-36 and make it as an 8th seed, where they got slapped around by the Boston Celtics. So really, also Jimmy Butler was injured. If he was healthy, it would have been a much closer series, but he wasn't, so that played a part in things. But for a moment, it did feel like there was a chance that this could be a really interesting 1-8 matchup, but without Butler, it just wasn't, is the best way to put it. Look, guys, for everything that the future holds right now for the Heat, Erik Spoelstra spoke out on it because this is a different year and there's a lot of opening in the East. And he said, hopefully we're going to be a lot better than last year. We had to really navigate quite a few things during the season, but we did make the playoffs. The playoffs did not go how we wanted it to, but the league is tough. Continuing, he said, we pride ourselves on finding a way to compete for a championship every single year. So that's what our standard is, and that's what we're aiming to do this year. And I think we have a good group. With the way the Eastern Conference is open going into this season, having the best coach in the NBA and a core that definitely is not bad will be helpful. We know the Heat always can perform in the playoffs when the lights are brightest, so that's going to be helpful, and also that they're going to stay one of the contenders for any guy who appears in trade conversations as well, which will also help because obviously the Heat are still looking for that #1 guy. But guys, what do you think about all this? What's your expectation for the Heat this year? What's your record prediction? Let me know that. Let me know your thoughts on the Rozier situation. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. I'll catch you later.